To evolve specialty coffee, we need to tackle really hard problems. I'm going to talk to you today about one of the hardest problems that coffee roasters face. It's the problem of managing green coffee age. What I mean by this is the age of the raw coffee before it's roasted. I'm going to let you in on a little secret that all green coffee buyers know if they travel to origin. The coffee at the point of origin just tastes better. It's sweeter, more complex, with better structure and much better mouthfeel. You know, I didn't always know this. I experienced it on my first trip to Coffee Origin 17 years ago, and I've been experiencing it every year on my origin trips since then. I remember back to 2014, I would taste our coffees back in Calgary around this time in the spring, and I would just cry. Many of them had papery or woody notes. They had lower sweetness and less complexity. Even the coffees in the best condition were shadows of their former selves. I wondered, what are we doing all this for? What's the point of all this travel, all this effort? For many years, I grappled with the question, is the degradation of raw green coffee inevitable, or can it be prevented? I'll tell you what I've learned. It can be prevented almost entirely, but buckle up because it's a multifaceted solution. It starts right at Coffee Origin with a critical part of the processing, which is drying the coffee properly. The analogy I like to make is if you leave meat on the counter, it will spoil, but if you dry it to beef jerky, it can be preserved. Coffee is, of course, the seed of a tropical fruit. Specifically, it's termed an intermediate seed, so it must be dried to a very specific level. It can't be over-dried or under-dried. It can't be dried too slow or it will mold, too fast or it will be uneven or damage the embryo. That's right, coffee has an embryo. The goal is to keep the seed viable, which means the embryo is alive in what's called a dormant state. Stress to the embryo will trigger germination and it's game over. The quality will decline rapidly. I won't get into the details of how drying is properly done in different coffee regions, but suffice it to say, it's the very first thing we focus on when visiting a new producer. Without this focus, nothing else matters because the quality could be amazing at origin, but it will never arrive home that way. Okay, so we got the coffee dry, now what? The coffee needs to be sent to where the roaster is located. This is usually done via sea freight and sometimes air freight. The goal is the same, avoid coffee trauma. Protect it from temperature and humidity changes. But is this even possible? Unless you're using special climate control shipping containers, which we've experimented with and I'll talk about in future videos, the coffee will always be exposed to variable temperatures. We've even put data loggers in our shipping containers to confirm the temperature swings. Okay, we did all that and the coffee is finally at our home base. Now what? This is actually where the roaster can have the most influence. You have two choices here. Use the coffee rapidly in about 3 months or preserve it through special storage. It can help to store the coffee around 15 degrees Celsius in a stable environment, but if the green coffee faced trauma in shipping, that won't help. We've only seen one thing work reliably. That is the rapid freezing of the green coffee. I say rapid because if it's frozen too slowly, we'll see ill effects. But if it's frozen quickly, it's kind of amazing what occurs. To be clear, I'm not talking about the freezing of roasted coffee, which is the topic for a different video. I'm talking about the freezing of raw green before roasting. We have been freezing all of our green coffee on arrival to Calgary since 2015. Very costly, but the increase in quality is so staggering that we couldn't imagine doing it any other way. On Sebastian's and my trips to Coffee Origin, we take old coffee from the previous harvest, which was frozen, and taste it right alongside fresh coffee. Normally, the fresh coffee would obliterate the old coffee, but it doesn't. So, going right back to the question, is green coffee degradation inevitable? I now believe that it's not. It's possible to preserve it and allow you and I to enjoy it in all its splendor. This is a call to action for the specialty coffee industry to do more to prevent green coffee degradation and, most importantly, educate customers about what they're missing.